Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Class 8, welcome back once again to your biology online class. But before starting the revision of the nervous system, your performance in unit test 4 once again was absolutely disappointing. Disappointing not in terms of the marks that you have secured. It is disappointing in terms of, in spite of so many reminders and so many moral teachings to you for so many years, I must say that I have failed. All the teachers have failed just because the amount of cheating that you have done, the diagrams that you have just clicked, pictures from your book itself or from the copy itself, and then you have just pasted the image over there. Answers are copied from the net. The terms which you are not even aware of, you have written those terms. And mind you, I have not given you marks where the answers are not at all up to the mark. Up to the mark in the sense are not according to your level, class 8. So it's a high time that you pull up your socks and start revising things and seeing things in a much better manner and taking studies seriously and sincerely and concentrating more and more in your studies. The written work, of course, is just of 7 or 8 girls that comes up every time, and that is for all the subjects because none of you are least interested. Only 7-8 girls are interested and the interest is being shown. And amongst those 7-8 girls also there are students who are copying answers from the net. So it is up to you. Everything is in your hands now. Without wasting any more of my time, I'm proceeding with the revision part of nervous system. I've told you what the nervous system is. It is a system which coordinates various body activities, that whichever body activities are that we are having, or that is not just it's not a simple system or not just an activity that is being done. You are just putting your hand up or down or raising your hand or waving your hand or writing something or eating something. That is not just a simple activity, but it involves a complex system of nerves, right, that are carrying the messages, and those messages are being carried to the brain or from the brain and spinal cord to the concerned muscle or gland, and a particular activity is being done. So this all is being done through the nervous system only. So the nervous system is a system in the body which sends the signals around the body. It lets people and animals respond to what is around them. The central nervous system is the brain, the spinal cord and nerves, right? So it tells us about the surroundings and the changes occurring there. That is, it keeps us aware of all the surroundings and the changes that are taking place, and that is done with the help of the sense organs. It is helping us to think, learn and remember. It controls all the voluntary activities, that is the activities which are under our control, we do according to our will, and even the involuntary activities, that is not the activities that are not under our control, we don't do them consciously, that is the beating of heart, sneezing, coughing. These are also being done through the nervous system only. Which system is responsible? That is, the nervous system is responsible for all these activities. Then the structural and functional unit of nervous system is the neuron. So a neuron is made up of 3 main parts, that is the cyton, this is the cyton, then the axon, and the dendrons and the dendrites. Is that clear? So what is the cytoplasm, the cyton consisting of? It consists of a nucleus and the cytoplasm. Is that clear? And the nucleus, you can see, is centrally placed. It consists of a single long and cylindrical structure which is called the axon, and which arises from the cytosol. It is covered with a sheath, protective covering, which is known as the myelin sheath, and the end of the axon is branched to form terminal branches. Is that clear? And this branch has a bulb-like structure which is called the synaptic knob. You can see this bulb-like structures. These are the axon terminals, and you can see that there is a knob-like or bulb-like structure. These are called as the synaptic knobs. Is that clear? These are the short cytoplasmic processes that you can see. These are known as the dendrons, and they divide further into dendrites. Is that clear? The finer branches that you can see, these are known as the dendrites. Then what is the function of the neuron? Function of the neuron is basically to transmit messages from the brain and spinal cord to the different organs, and again from the different organs to the back to the brain and the spinal cord. Is that clear? So these messages are transmitted in the form of electrical signals, which are called as the nerve impulses. Is that clear? These are known as the nerve impulses. Now the neurons, the dendrites of a neuron, they lie very close to the terminal branches of the axon of another neuron, and they are not joined to each other. There is a small gap that you can see over here. There is a small gap between the two, and this is called as the synapse. Is that clear? This is called as the synapse. This is a very close view. That is the dendrites of a neuron and the terminal branches of the axon of another neuron. And this is how the messages, that is the nerve impulse, is transmitted from the axon of one neuron to the dendrite of another neuron, and this is through the synapse. And this is one direction. It is not that it will go in opposite direction. It will always be from the axon of one neuron to the dendrite of another neuron. Is it clear? Then what is a nerve? A bundle of nerve fibers, that is a bundle of axons enclosed in a medullary sheath. This is a protective sheath that is there. This is known as the medullary sheath, and inside these medullary sheath is the bundle of nerve fibers, bundle of axons. What is the function of the medullary sheath? It is an insulatory covering. That is, there should be, how is the signal or messages being transmitted? How are the messages being transmitted from one neuron to the next? It is through the, yes, it is through synapse. Then these synapse is taking place how? There should be no leakage inside the axon itself. There should be something which should protect the axons. There should be no leakage between the of the messages between the different axons. So this is done through the a protective covering which is known as the medullary sheath. Is that clear? This is an insulatory covering, and it prevents the mixing of impulses in the nerves lying close to each other. So this is a single nerve where there is a bundle of axon. So many such nerves are in contact with each other. So there should be no mixing of nerve impulses. Is that clear? Then there are three types of nerves. So these three types are sensory, which you can call as afferent, then efferent are the motor, and then they are the mixed nerves. What is the function of the afferent or sensory nerve? That is, they carry the nerve impulses or carry messages from the sense organ to the brain or to the spinal cord, and these contain only the sensory fibers. For example, the optic nerves of the eyes are sensory nerves. Similarly, the auditory nerves. Similarly, the auditory nerves, olfactory nerves, these are all, auditory means ear. They are carrying the messages from the ear to the brain. Is that clear? Then motor nerve or efferent nerve, they carry impulses from the brain or spinal cord to the muscle or gland, and these nerves contain only motor fibers. As sensory nerves contain only sensory fibers, motor nerves contain only motor fibers, and nerves to the muscle of the eyeballs are motor nerves, because there has to be, motor means concerned with the movement. Is that clear? So the eyeball moves. Is that clear? So this is the function of the motor nerve, that is carrying impulses from the brain or spinal cord to the muscle or gland. Then the mixed nerve consists of both the fibers, that is both sensory and motor nerve fibers. Is that clear? That is these nerves that go to the brain are always mixed nerves containing the motor branch and the sensory branch of a particular part of the body. Is that clear? They are generally mixed nerves. Then there are certain terms which are related to the nervous system. For example, the stimulus. So it is any detectable change in the surrounding environment, any action that makes an organism to react, that you can feel, that you can hear, you can see, you can taste, you can feel, you can smell. These detectable, you can detect, you can make out. Exactly, is called a stimulus, and the plural is stimuli, and the plural is stimuli, and the singular is stimulus. Is that clear? And it affects the organism. This stimulus influences the living organism. Is that clear? Similarly, response. So when it receives the stimulus, the activity or movement of the body in response to a stimulus is called a response. Is that clear? The organism responds to a particular stimuli. Is that clear? And I have told you that whatever message that is being transmitted, it is in the form of an electrical signal, and that signal that travels along the length of the nerve, and that is called an impulse. Now this electrical signal is received and detected. So a cell or a tissue that receives and detects a particular stimulus is called a receptor. They are called as receptor. They are present in all the sense organs. Is that clear? And these are the cells which initiate the transmission of a nerve impulse by the sensory nerve. Is it clear? Then effector is an organ that produces a suitable response on receiving an impulse. For example, for instance, when we touch a hot object, we withdraw our hand. So heat is the stimulus, and the skin cell that receives the heat is the receptor, and then the impulse is transmitted from the skin cell to the brain through the nerves. Brain reads the signal and sends its command to the muscle of the hand, and the muscle of the hand denote the effector. So response is brought about by the effector, which are either muscles or gland. And what is the response? That is, we move the hand away immediately from the hot object. This is the response. Is it clear? Then human nervous system consists of the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system. So I have told you earlier in this diagram that brain and spinal cord, you can see these things in the central nervous system, are constituted by the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, that all the nerves of the body, they constitute the peripheral nervous system. Then autonomic nervous system, that is a pair of chain of ganglia, and nerves, they constitute the autonomic nervous system. So the central nervous system, I have told you, consists of the brain and the spinal cord, and the brain is located inside the skull, and the spinal cord is in the vertebral column. Is that clear? So the brain and the spinal cord are connected to the various parts of the body through the nerves. You can see this diagram. Is it clear? So we all know that brain is the main control center of the body. It is a very delicate organ and is protected by a bony box in the skull. So this is a very delicate organ of the body, and any injury to it can have very serious effects. So it is protected by a bony box which is known as the brain box or cranium, and it is surrounded by three membranes, that is called as the meninges. They are pia mater, arachnoid mater, and the dura mater. Is that clear? And the space between these membranes is filled with a fluid which is called as the cerebrospinal fluid. This is the blue arrows that you can see. This space is filled with a fluid which is known as the cerebrospinal fluid. What is the function of this fluid? It protects the brain from any mechanical shocks, any jerks, any injury. Is that clear? So the brain has three parts. It consists of the cerebrum, cerebellum, and the medulla. Is it clear? So you can see this clearly: cerebrum, cerebellum, and the brainstem. Now this cerebrum is the largest and the most complex part of the brain. You can see it is the largest part, and it has two halves, that is the right cerebral hemisphere and the left cerebral hemisphere, and each hemisphere is internally hollow. Is that clear? Outer portion of the cerebrum contains the cell bodies of the neurons, and the inner portion contains what? It contains the axons, and it is called the white matter. Outer portion is the gray matter, and the inner portion is called the white matter. And outer surface and many ridges and grooves, and the number of ridges and grooves are more, person is more intelligent, because the surface area of the brain increases. That is, it can accommodate more nerve cells. When more nerve cells will be accommodated, then definitely the function of the brain will be enhanced. Is that clear? So you can say the gray matter and the white matter. That is, the white matter is what? Basically the axons of the neuron, axon part of the neuron, and the gray matter is the cyton portion of the neuron. Is that clear? You can see it has many ridges and grooves. This increases the surface area and to accommodate more nerve cells. Is it clear?